Ladies and gentlemen, I accept the nomination. What can I say? I am one of those 30 years from now guys, because when I was serving in the United States Senate and representing, I had the privilege of representing MIT and Harvard and so forth, and obviously proving it took a Yale man to properly represent Harvard. But I used to hear constantly, because when I was in the Senate, MIT would come to me and say, we've got this idea, we're really trying to pursue this thing. And I, without knowing that much about it, but went to work on it and got to know a lot about it. I visited many times, several times in Cambridge. And Bob Mumpower is here somewhere, I don't know where he is. There he is. Bob, thank you for a great visit at Commonwealth Fusion the other day. And my great pal who helped me enormously in the negotiations with Iran on the Iran nuclear agreement, Ernie Moniz, and our former Secretary of Energy is here, and he's taught me some things about this. But I would hear, you know, as an energy source, really, it's going to be 30 years away. So help me. And go in 10 years later, it's 30 years away. But I happened to be out in California. I was visiting Google X and trying to learn more about some of the technologies that are online, and went up to the accelerator, Livermore Laboratory, and listened to the scientists there talking excitedly about what had happened in this minuscule of seconds that they had created enough heat to actually prove the process could in fact work. So I went out and saw Commonwealth the other day where there's a great deal of construction taking place. So this is exciting, but I can't tell you how many years away it is. I'm not sure Bob or others can either yet. But almost to the day, 70 years ago, President Eisenhower delivered an historic Atoms for Peace speech. Now, I'm not mentioning that because you're in for an historic speech about atoms or fission versus fusion, et cetera, but I am here to say that idea of urging nations to come together to harness the power of science for peaceful pursuits and benefit mankind, humankind generally, clearly is more than a worthy goal. It's the highest aspiration, if you will, of diplomacy, of foreign policy, of strategic interests. And I thank the Atlantic Council, thank you, Fred, for the work you guys do always to bring the most relevant issues to the table at the critical times. So today I'm privileged to be here without any pretension in terms of escalating the size of the charge that we're trying to issue today. But I am here to try to again harness the power of fundamental physics and human ingenuity in response to a crisis. And in this case, I think everybody here understands, because you're at COP28, which is 27 COPs too many, you're here to help us figure out how we are really going to thread this needle. The crisis could not be more clear, and I'm not here to run through all of the evidence. But when it's 70 degrees above normal in the Arctic during the summer, this past summer, and 100 degrees Fahrenheit above normal in the Antarctic, and we're learning about this massive thousands of years of iceberg that has broken off because it was stuck in the mud for years, but now it's melting away. And so it moved, and it's going out towards Georgia Island, and it will, along with 86 million metric tons a day from just one fjord up in Greenland, continue to shock the scientists. And now we are hearing from the best scientists in the world that they're alarmed. Some say terrified. Others have altogether said we are in uncharted territory. And if you're a government official, if you're in public life, there is, after all, I think, a precautionary principle about governance, where when scientists are presenting you with facts, and Mother Nature herself is presenting you with facts, like 18 separate $1 billion climate events in the United States last year, you ought to stop and really think about what's going on and then figure out how you're going to respond to it. And that's what we're doing here. fusion energy certainly can excite the mind, and it can excite the spirit of possibilities that exist in all of us as human beings. And the evidence is now clear about how critical this choice is for us to try to move forward faster. I personally believe, based on what I've read and learned and talking with people like Ernie Moniz and others, Ernie was just telling me a moment ago about how a visit he made a number of years ago when he didn't really believe completely in this possibility or this track. But a visit and the evidence of how far people had progressed convinced him, and I'm sure he'll talk about it on the panel, of the possibilities, and he's now fully engaged in this quest. So I believe, based on friends I have, people I respect, evidence that I've read, that there is potential in fusion to revolutionize our world and to change all of the options that are in front of us and provide the world with abundant and clean energy without the harmful emissions of traditional energy sources. And while we've had a little debate in the last few days about what the evidence shows or doesn't show of science, science clearly tells us, without any question whatsoever, that the cause of this crisis is one of the simplest things we could try to figure out. It's about math and physics telling us that it's emissions. It's the way we burn fossil fuels without capturing the emissions. And we have two options. Either capture the emissions or don't burn it. That's really where we are. And we got to figure out what we're going to do at a critical pace. Fusion, I believe, can be a critical piece of our energy future, obviously, along with wind and solar and nuclear fission and geothermal and other forms of energy. But the cadence of new and exciting fusion announcements has obviously increased over time. New startups are exploring exciting new modalities for fusion energy. There are a lot of different approaches that are in many of the different companies that have sprung up pursuing this, some further along than others, obviously. But all of them begin to tell us that new computational tools and new materials help us realize and harness the energy of a burning plasma. And of course, the landmark announcement about ignition from the National Laboratory last year. So we are edging ever closer to a fusion-powered reality. And at the same time, yes, significant scientific and engineering challenges exist, yes. And careful thought and thoughtful policy is going to be critical to be able to navigate this critical juncture. The United States was proud to announce its bold decadal vision for commercial fusion energy last year, built on a series of public and private sector partnerships to accelerate the research over the next decade towards a full demonstration of fusion energy. But it is clear we cannot realize this grand ambition, perhaps not at all, but certainly not at the pace we need to, doing it alone. Science is inherently international, and scientists behave differently from a lot of other folks who are engaged in these debates. And fusion has actually benefited greatly from a strong tradition of international partnership. The ITER, the largest science infrastructure project in the world, which brings together 35 nations and is critical to the effort. I think everybody understands we've got to improve the way the international effort can happen. And that's part of what will be talked about today as we lay out this road ahead for an international structure. Collaboration and knowledge shared are essential to beginning to accelerate what we're trying to do. And they are vital as we collectively tackle the scientific and engineering challenges that lie ahead. So, building on a decadal vision, I'm pleased to announce the U.S. International Engagement Plan for Fusion Energy. Engagement plan, key words. This strategy identifies 5 areas of work that will help us to realize the promise of this technology. And they are R&D, supply chain and marketplace, regulation, workforce, and education and engagement. And this is a call to action, folks. And you'll hear in the panel, you couldn't have a more distinguished panel. I think it will help lay out for everybody a clear understanding of this roadmap of collaboration and of sharing and of building on all of our strengths. This is a human challenge, mankind challenge. It is, in fact, as existential as it has been described. And if it is existential, and all of our countries are threatened, and they are, and all life is threatened, and it is, then we need to pull ourselves together with every strength we have and every capacity we have in order to pursue every option there is to get there as fast as we can. Atoms for Peace, which, by the way, was delivered on, I think, December 8th. So 3 days from now, we're sort of bringing history back together here. And it was really President Eisenhower at his best in terms of his vision. He is, after all, the president who warned us about an military-industrial complex. He had a vision in lots of ways, and it was ultimately about progress and harmony, setting aside boundaries in order to work as a united front. Together, I am convinced, with determination and with unity, with the spirit of cooperation, understanding the stakes, we can act with determination and unity. We can harness the remarkable power of atoms and matter in order to build a clean energy future, leaving a legacy of hope and sustainable and thriving world for generations to come. I think that's why this auditorium is full. I think that's why I see so many serious folks, many of whom I know, sitting here. This is a good moment, and we just need to make the most of it. Thank you all very, very much.